Once upon a time, the smell of gasoline meant freedom, the open road, the sound of engines, and the dream of progress. But hidden inside that dream was a poison, a chemical so powerful and so profitable it changed American history. This is the story of how the air we breathed was slowly killing us, and how we finally stopped it. In 1921, scientists at General Motors found something revolutionary. Add a tiny drop of tetraethyl led to gasoline, and engines ran smoother, quieter, more powerful. The media called it a miracle fuel. But inside those lab rooms, workers began collapsing. Some went mad, others died. They called it loony gas. But the profits were too high to stop. This new, powerful additive promised to transform the automobile industry, making cars more efficient and desirable than ever. GM, along with Standard Oil, formed the Ethyl Corporation to market this product. They knew about the dangers. They had seen the effects firsthand. But the allure of dominating the burgeoning automotive market was too strong. They pushed forward, reassuring the public that their new ethyl gasoline was perfectly safe, a marvel of modern science. The warnings from their own labs were buried under a mountain of marketing and dollar signs. The engine of progress had started, and it was fueled by a deadly secret. By the 1940s, leaded gasoline powered almost every car in America. Every puff of smoke released invisible dust, lead particles. It coated playgrounds, streets, and homes. Children played in it. Parents breathed it. No one realized the entire country was slowly being poisoned. The lead didn't just disappear, it settled everywhere. It was in the soil where kids dug for treasures, on the windowsills of family homes, and in the very air that filled their lungs with each breath. Doctors saw puzzling symptoms in children, learning difficulties, behavioral problems, but the cause was a ghost, an invisible enemy that had become part of everyday life. The nation was enjoying unprecedented mobility and prosperity, completely unaware that the symbol of its success, the family car, was also a source of a creeping, silent epidemic. The convenience of driving came at a cost that no one was yet calculating. A few scientists spoke up. Dr. Alice Hamilton warned about neurological damage. Dr. Claire Patterson spent years proving lead levels in human blood were rising, but the oil companies fought back with money, PR campaigns, and silence. "It's safe," they said, and America believed them. Patterson, a geochemist, stumbled upon the truth while trying to determine the age of the Earth. He discovered that his samples were massively contaminated with atmospheric lead, far more than could occur naturally. He built the world's first ultra-clean laboratory to prove his point. His research was irrefutable. Industrial lead, primarily from gasoline, had saturated the entire globe. When he presented his findings, the industry-funded scientific community tried to discredit him. They cut his funding and attempted to ruin his career. But Patterson and others persisted, driven by the horrifying truth they had uncovered. They were lone voices, crying out in a wilderness of denial, fighting a battle against some of the most powerful corporations in the world. Cars became symbols of independence. Teenagers cruised Main Street. Families drove cross-country vacations. Nobody wanted to hear that every mile left poison in the air. The American dream had a dark exhaust. The 1950s and 60s were the golden age of the automobile. It wasn't just a machine, it was a part of the family. It represented freedom, status, and the promise of a brighter future. From the sleek tail fins of a '57 Chevy to the roar of a V8 engine, car culture was woven into the fabric of American identity. The idea that this beloved icon could be harmful was almost blasphemous. The industry played on this love affair, sponsoring family-friendly television shows and filling magazines with ads depicting happy families on the open road. The message was clear. Cars meant happiness. This deep emotional connection made it incredibly difficult for the warnings of scientists to break through the noise of roaring engines and the promise of endless highways. By the 1970s, the truth was impossible to hide. Kids had higher lead levels than ever. Cities were choking. The new Environmental Protection Agency stepped in, and the oil lobby fought back. The battle over gasoline wasn't just about cars. It was about control, profit, and denial. A wave of environmental consciousness was sweeping the nation. People were starting to connect the dots between pollution and public health. Smog in cities like Los Angeles was becoming unbearable, a visible, stinging reminder of the price of progress. Armed with irrefutable data from scientists like Claire Patterson, the newly formed EPA took on the powerful petroleum industry. The fight was brutal and protracted. The industry argued that banning lead would cripple the economy and harm consumers. They spent millions on lobbying and public relations to cast doubt on the science. It was a war for the very air Americans breathed, a conflict that pitted public health against corporate profit in the halls of Washington. In 1986, the U.S. finally banned leaded gasoline for road vehicles. The change was quiet, almost unnoticed. But over the next decade, the air grew cleaner, and IQ levels across the country began to rise. Science had been right all along. As unleaded fuel became the standard, the amount of lead in the atmosphere plummeted. Studies showed a direct correlation. As lead levels in the air went down, so did the lead levels in children's blood. The impact was astonishing. Researchers found that the average IQ of American children rose by several points. Crime rates also began a steep decline in the 1990s, a phenomenon some researchers have linked to the reduction in childhood lead exposure and its effects on brain development. The quiet victory at the gas pump had profound positive consequences for an entire generation. We can't see lead in the air anymore, but its ghost remains, in the soil, in the statistics, and in our memory. It's a story of innovation, greed, and redemption. A story that reminds us progress isn't always clean, and sometimes the price of convenience is paid in breath. Thank you so much for joining us on this journey into the past. If you found this story as fascinating as we did, please consider liking this video and subscribing to our channel for more forgotten stories. We'll see you next time.